Eagles just a downright thrashing of the Minnesota Vikings tonight, 24-7. And to me, the MVP, Jalen Hurts. I think this game was an arrival of Jalen Hurts.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
All right, welcome back to the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. We're live right here at Ocho Casino Resort. Beautiful background that we have here. Live at the Gallery Bar, book and games. And if you're watching us on 6abc.com and JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Eagles just a downright thrashing of the Minnesota Vikings tonight, 24-7. And to me, the MVP, Jalen Hurts. I think this game was an arrival of Jalen Hurts as a really solid to premier quarterback in this league. His numbers are really good, 26-31, 333 yards, 108.7 rating. But to me, it was his ability to move the ball down the field. Very decisive, very accurate, and it didn't look like the Vikings could do anything about it.
No, and the good thing about Jalen was, you're right, he didn't just have to stick on one target. That offensive line gave him enough time to where when the first option wasn't open, he found that second or third option in his offense. And that's a significant part of his growth as well. I thought he threw a beautiful ball. We keep talking about, not we, but in general, people keep talking about a lack of arm strength throwing the deep ball. He threw a perfect strike down the field to Quez Watkins. I thought the best ball that he threw all night was that floater to the sidelines he threw over the top to Dallas Goedert, and Goedert dropped it. Yeah, that was a beautiful pass. You got a guy playing high on him and a guy playing low. He dropped it right in the bucket, and Goedert dropped that pass. You know, that's the kind of thing I've been waiting to see from Jalen Hurts. And, man, he's really on point with his passing now.
Listen, I think we can begin to kind of pull back on, you know, what Jalen can't do and what his arm strength says that he can't do. 53 yards in the air.
Not bad.
Come on now. Yeah. I mean, you know, all the people talking about him having a noodle arm and him not having accuracy, some of those slants, some of those windows that he put the ball in tonight were just downright impressive.
No question.
I mean, he was decisive in where he wanted to go. It wasn't one of those situations where he was looking to see if the guy was going to be open. He put the ball in the window. The receiver caught it. I mean, and when you start to look at the numbers, I mean, my goodness, Dallas Goedert had 6 targets. He caught 5. Devontae Smith had 7 targets. He caught all 7 of them. Quez had 2 targets. He caught all 2 of those. A.J. Brown, 5 of 8. Zach Pascal, 2 for 2. I mean,
well-designed play, Pascal play for a first down.
And you've got to begin to start talking about and thinking about his completion percentage. Last week he was just barely over 50%. This week, I mean, I don't know what the percentages are right now, but I mean he's got to be darn near in the 70 percentile, if not higher. You know, from a percentage standpoint, and that was one of the biggest things from last year that we talked about. And not only that, but also talking about, you know, third downs. I mean, the Eagles had, 25 third downs, 7 for 13. And, when you talk about converting at that rate, as a defensive team, what you're trying to do is you're trying to hold your opponent to right around 33%. I mean, they were over 50% on third downs tonight. So, I mean, those things are the things that I look for. Your ability to convert third downs, how many third downs you're converting in opposition to how many your opponent is, and time of possession. I mean, they dominated time of possession, 36-14 to 23-46. I mean, to me, those are the big things that gives you a telltale sign of how dominant, this football team was.
A couple really good third down conversions on that first drive. Let's talk about a couple plays, though. I want to talk about the Quez Watkins touchdown play. Now, as a defensive player, I'm watching it, you're watching it. Now, I know what happens. The safety cuts to Goedert on that play.
Right.
But Watkins is running right past him. I mean, just right past him. How do you ignore a player who goes on a jet and just let him go?
Listen, I don't think that it's one of those things where he ignored him. When you're playing halves coverage and you're 12 yards deep, your key is the tight end. What the mistake that he made is he didn't see that Quez Watkins' split was cut down. And when the split is cut down like that, that condenses everything. So he's reading the tight end and the tight end pushes up the field. I mean, it's a great route combination to kill cover 2 because that cornerback is the problem. That cornerback, if he doesn't get depth, then he's going to throw that ball to Goddard for another big play. But sometimes it just happens where your eyes get stuck on your key for too long, and he didn't get any depth. It's the cardinal sin, for half safeties. And when that ball is snapped, you got to be deeper than the deepest. Yeah. So you better be pedaling the minute that those guys up front are responsible for the run. You're responsible for not letting anybody get behind you. So when that ball is snapped, you better be backpedaling and then expand your vision as you backpedal. What he did is he had dead feet, and he was looking at Goddard. He was playing the play the whole way, and Quez Watkins just ran right by him. By the time he realized it, it was too late.
Once the tight end, the linebacker released the tight end. The cornerback should have had Goddard out in the flat when he broke. The safety bid on it, and once he bid on it, he could not pivot his hips quick enough to catch up with Quez.
It almost looked like he ran to Goddard as Watkins was running past him.
It was lights out.
That was the weird part about it.
He blew his coverage is what he did.
All right, let's look at the play where Jalen scores, bullet his way to the end zone, and of course Monday Night Football crew cuts right to him squatting 600 pounds as a pup, like way back when. This guy is really strong.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I don't really worry about him getting hurt. When you look at Lamar Jackson and the way that he runs around, he's a lot more frail and a lot more fragile than Jalen Hurts. I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts' thighs, you look at, the way that he's built, and he's put on some weight in his upper body as well. I still don't, I'm like Gunner. I don't want to see him, take unnecessary hits. Right. And I think each week he's getting better and better at selecting what he needs to take and what he doesn't need to take. Where he needs to really stay away from those linebackers and stay away from those defensive linemen. I think he turns into a completely different runner the minute he gets to the back end. Those little DBs, I think he believes that he can run those guys over.
I believe there's a lot of DBs who underestimate his strength because you look at him physically, he's not the biggest quarterback out there. But when he gets to that second level, how many times do you see him breaking tackles when safeties and cornerbacks are trying to tackle him one-on-one? It doesn't happen often. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, if he's going down, it's because he's feeling pressure from coming from somewhere else. But the fact that he kept churning his legs and kept moving, and you see, the one thing that drives me nuts about defensive backs across the league, who taught these people how to tackle up high? Why are you tackling people up high? You see it all the time in the National Football League. You got to get low and take his legs out from under. I don't care who the ball carrier is. You got to get under them and take their legs out from under them. You see these guys grabbing shoulder pads and up around the numbers all the time, and I'm thinking, what kind of football is this?
But that's the way they practice tackling now.
Yes.
They're either diving, tackling these big donuts that roll on the ground, or they're diving and tackling, these dummies up high. Listen, when I was coaching my little young kids, 10-year-olds, I'm like, listen, they can't run without those. If you take those away, they can't go anywhere. But if you try to go up top and get the shoulder pads, they're going to shake you off. If they're bigger and they're stronger than you are, they're just going to throw you off. So I don't understand why the first guy isn't trying to just take the legs and everybody else clean it up. But, hey, the thing is, the thing I love about that play is when Jalen got outside and he got to the sideline, he looked and he was like, there's nobody here. Yeah. And then automatically something in his head clicked and he was like, oh, I'm scoring on this play. Yeah. And he was just not to be denied on that play.
I'll bet you the back end of that defense thought he was going to step out of bounds at one point. And he kept the legs moving, by then was too late.
All right, let's talk about the other guy who can't run. That's Kirk Cousins. He's 2-10 on Monday Night Football. And Seth, I want to get into this with you. Is that a coincidence that in the hottest lights possible that he has lost 10 of 12 games, night games, or does it say something about him? Or
well, I think that the NFL tries to, with their national games, to try to match up upper level teams. How many games do you see the Jacksonville Jaguars on primetime games? Right. So most of the time, Kirk Cousins has faced better defenses when you're on primetime games. The truth of the matter is, he is what he is. If you let him sit in the pocket he can hurt you. There's not a throw that he can't make. There's not a read that he can't make. And when he feels comfortable, he doesn't make many mistakes. What makes Kirk Cousins inefficient is when you pressure him, when he feels pressure. I mean, even if you get close, that's enough to make him to just disrupt him and make him extremely nervous. And the Eagles tonight understood that. And they brought the pressure, they made him uncomfortable, and it paid off in a huge way.
Well,
So when you talk about Kirk Cousins, a lot of times it's just the fact that, you know, when he plays against better teams that can pressure him, then he's not gonna have a good night. That's just the truth of the matter.
And don't forget, he played on a lot of bad Washington teams as well that were getting a lot of primetime games. There's no doubt about that. He got lost in the shuffle down in Washington.
All right. I don't know what his record is on Thursday or Sunday. They're night games as well. Maybe he's like one of these pitchers who can only pitch during Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what that is. You know, one of the underplayed things, Miles Sanders kind of creeps up on you here. He finished with 80 yards on 17 carries, which is a pretty solid night for Miles Sanders. And then, you know, Boston Scott had a major run for a first down when they gave him the ball on that one play. Their running game, they rushed 34 times. So, you know, that's okay.
I love the way Miles Sanders is running with authority. He's running upfield, shoulders square, getting low when he has to. Last season, Miles danced around behind the line of scrimmage just a little bit too much, trying to shake and bake too much instead of getting up the field. You can tell he's putting his foot in the ground, one step and gone up the field. And he's getting what he can get. And I know there's a lot when it comes to Miles Sanders, and we talked about it last week. Miles Sanders is on another mission because this is a potential big money year for him. And that's great because that's exactly what the Eagles need from your lead running back. Now, he had 17 carries tonight, and Seth, I think you and I agree that 15 to 17 carries is perfect for Miles Sanders to keep him more durable and to enhance his longevity with his offense throughout the season.
Well, you're not, again, I'm of the opinion you're not going to see him carry the ball more than 16, 17, or 18 times per game.
Right.
Last game he had 13 for 90-something yards. So I just believe that, you know, there's some kind of analytics that the Eagles have that says that anytime a running back gets over, you know, 18, 19 carries per game, that the probabilities and the likelihood of injuries go up exponentially. So they're monitoring, you know, what Miles is doing. And listen, I know how running backs are. Running backs like to get lathered up.
Right.
They like to get a bunch of carries to kind of get into the flow of the game. But you can see early, he had some success. His first run from scrimmage was for a first down. I think it was 11, 12 yards.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh, man, they're about to feed the beast tonight. And then all of a sudden they come out the next series after they score, and Boston Scott comes on the field. And then Kenneth Gainwell came on the field. And I like both of those guys. They both bring a different dynamic to what the Eagles want to do. That interception that Jalen threw late in the game, Kenneth Gainwell's got to catch that ball, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and if he catches that ball, he might still be running right now. You know, so it's just the little things. I think that they're set right there. Just as long as they can stay healthy, they're set with those three guys in the running game. When you add Jalen and what he does to the running game, listen, they're going to be – last year they were the #1 running team in the NFL, 159 yards per game. They ran for 186 last week, 163 this week. They're off to a blazing start again, and a lot of that has to do with Jalen. But it also has a lot to do with how Miles is running the ball, too. Kudos to him.
Quick thing on the defense. We haven't talked much about tackles today because they tackled well tonight. I thought they really tackled well. T.J. Edwards, 10 total tackles, 7 solo. And Avonte Maddox with 8 tackles tonight.
I'm okay with that because, you know.
I know you're not the biggest T.J. fan based on
Well,
why he can't, how he can't cover.
I like TJ, and I love the fact that last year, you know, he got a taste of what it was like to be a starter and decided that no matter, even if you drafted Nakobe Dean, he's not going to supplant me. But when you look at their 5-man scheme, what they do is they take Kazir White out of the game and they put TJ Edwards in the game for the run fits. You know, my problem with that is that if I'm an offensive coordinator, then I'm going to target TJ because he's not that good in coverage. Now, he was better tonight, but he doesn't cover like Kazir White.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about the drive of the game. I got it all. It was a beautiful drive. and I'm not going to tell you which one it was
Okay.
because it could have been the first one, but it's not. This is the Pond Lehocky Eagles post-game show. Mike Missinelli, Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, Devin Caney is going to join us after this.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.